Hey YouTube, Rob back with another Commodore game. This time we're looking at the ever so classic Attack of the Mutant Camels. After some of the more larger plays I've done, I wanted to sit down and just have a quick blast of something. And while seeing there's a new Minter game on the horizon, I had to go back to one of his earliest. It's probably not technically his best. I mean, he was still transitioning over to the C64 at the time with this, but it's one I've really enjoyed over. Pardon me. I've really enjoyed over the years. So the basic concept is a bunch of evil aliens have basically mutated a bunch of common camels to giant 90-foot high armored laser spitting death beasts, and they're basically storming the earth, and you need to just take them down before they get to your base. Kind of simple. The game itself, he ported it first off to the Atari machines, where several years later, I think it was 84 or 85, so it was greatly enhanced, and it's actually the much better game just because of those enhancements. A lot more color, a lot more, nice crunchy sound effects that the Atari's Pokey could do. And then there was a sort of sequel hidden as a minigame inside Batlix, which is another set of enhancements that looks a lot more polished. So sort of dive in. You've got your starting players and your sector. Dive in, and you can see it is sort of primitive, which is okay. So controls are simple enough. You use joystick to fly, accelerate. You have your scanner above. That's something I really like, is that whole pressure from two different weapon types. Even though they look the same, there's a sort of standard blast that can do a hit, and you can take a number of hits before going down. But there's also the heavier, the sort of more powerful blast that has its custom effect noise, and that one is much better at seeking. And if it does hit you, you lose your life straight away. So far, I've been pretty lucky. You can get used to the patterns after a while. In that case, I finally took enough hits. So in terms of getting the points, what you really want to be able to do is sort of chain taking out camels. As every camel you destroy increases the multiplier. That's the little 200 that's in the middle of the top screen. Oh, yep. I mean, one of the things I love with this game is that it is fairly straightforward in what it does. It's not trying to be anything insanely complex. It's pretty straightforward blaster. It's still, whilst it's still early, still little primitive graphics and sound wise, there is this challenge with maneuvering and just being able to handle, being able to avoid the enemy fire. And now I've completed the stage. So the idea of this sequence now is you just avoid these, missiles as you move through the stage and you walk to the next sector. As a result of that, you get a bit of a bonus, and the new sector starts again. And in classic arcade tradition, things get faster. The one thing I'm actually impressed with is still how good the actual controls feel. I mean, you wouldn't think for fairly early game on a machine to have these very tight feeling controls. And it's one of the reasons why I still really come back to this version of the game. The Atari version, looks prettier, sounds much nicer, but the controls felt a little off. And one of the things was you found myself bouncing around a lot. I didn't feel in control as I do with this version of the game. That meant that really, it just wasn't as much fun. I mean, if it's not this, I tend to fire up AMC2 in Batlix, which by far my favourite sub-game of that game. And it may be one. That's such a unique little game that's probably worth looking at it in due course. So with the sub-game here, one of the things you want to do is you want to avoid those, I don't know what they're called, missiles, whatever. And of course you hit them, you move on to the next stage, and you get penalised. I think you don't get the score bonus. So I mean, it's really classic battle of attrition here. Like most good games, you always the machine will defeat you in the end, despite your valiant efforts. And sometimes it's okay to have that kind of blast. That's the downside of not being completely careful when you're coming up to these things. But I like the fact that it is a predictable pattern as well. It's so if you watch. And there we go. Well, as you can sort of see, as you get further in, those bullets become quite a lot more challenging. But that's Attack the Mutant Camels. It's primitive, it's early. I mean, it's an '82 release. But it's still it's still a shooter that I do hold dear to my heart, and I find it really darn engrossing. As a simple, 5-minute, 10-minute blast, it's definitely one that's worth checking out. As usual, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing you the next one soon. Thanks for watching.